Okay, so I'm going to talk about the conversation owner. It's a new way of approaching the S&OP dialogue, and see if it works. Yes, so I got only 10 minutes, because I could afford only 10 minutes. And in these 10 minutes, I did a little prayer this morning because I wanted to get rid of the S&OP process. So I prayed to God, and God said, have the serenity, to accept the things that you cannot change, but have the courage to attack the things you can change. But hopefully it gives me also the inspiration of what is one, what can be changed and what cannot be changed. We really believe, that in the current world, and Martin talked about, everybody talked about it, the world is in turmoil. Nothing of the paradigms of the past, how they influence our customers are the same. And so it's a lot of volatility, but we do not have a language to communicate that volatility and that changes and the drivers of the change to the organization. So what I'm going to talk about is a demand language, how the combination of the power of the planner in combination with artificial intelligence and machine learning can create that language. Because if you look at S&OP, and we had a discussion this morning about Carlson, it was a process that was designed in last century. It was a process when you had time to review all your SKUs. Then you had time in an analog meeting to talk to all the departments. Of course, you had conflict because every department was incentivized by their own goals. So sales wanted to have stock to sell. Production wanted to have return on assets. So the result of it was not like on the Mount Everest, the conflict, that you had like a better result, but the result was, you basically come to a consensus of an average. And in these times, where the world is going up and down, the average is the worst there can be. So what we are talking about today is about a North Star, an understanding, a language, so that everybody can understand, and not to talk about what is a consensus, but what are the drivers of your forecast. Because what happens in the world doesn't just happen. It's things that happen because your customers do things, because your competition do things, because there are events out there. Think about the war, Corona, the promotions of your customers, new product introductions. And what AI and your planner give the capability is to connect those events to the ups and downs in your forecast, which is called history mining. What had an influence? And being able, by understanding what's happening in the world, with the internal understanding of your business, you can create what you call a North Star. A North Star is the best possible plan you can have. So once you have the best possible plan that you have, you need to understand what are the different components of that demand. What is my baseline, which I cannot change? What is my seasonality, which I cannot change? What is influenced by my promotion, which I can't change? What are events out there? Are they happening again? So that I can talk to the rest of the organization and tell, this is going to happen within this range with 30% less error, but also what the distribution is, which reflects your risk. So that the discussion is not about what is our consensus here, the discussion is about what's going to happen and what are you going to do to change that forecast. Because if you tell me you're going to have a promotion sales with a 50% lift, and I see in the history that this lift was always 20%, we're not going to have a conflict. You're wrong. Point. That's the point. And that we're going to measure. So that's about. And of course, you're talking to different parties, and we need a conversation owner, because not everybody understands statistics, not everybody understands risk, not everybody understands probabilities. So translating that forecast and with the different components is what's important. So to summarize it, understanding your demand, understanding what the range is, but also understanding what the different components are, understand what you can influence and not influence, and then understand when you influence it, whether you shape your demand, make it bigger, or not shift your demand and move it to others. And also, of course, whether it's demand you can handle or demand you want to handle, because you can influence it to increase. It's a very important element, even in these times, that you can work. And the most important is that you have KPIs, that you can measure afterwards what happens. Not measure what happens in your department, but are you growing? Are your inventory turns increasing? Are you profitable? Is your demand portfolio complex or not complex? And what you don't want to do is like have very, very long discussions on it. You want to measure how you're evolving, and you want to measure it constantly. And you want to measure it before it happens so that you can still do something about it. So we're not talking here about 6 months or 3 years to process or 100,000 of investment. We're talking about having your demand plan analyzed in 1 day, seeing what your business case is, in a second phase within a couple of weeks, connecting it into your organization, thanks to the combination of your planner and AI, and then start the process where you make sure that in the beginning of the month, you have all the information of your sales, and you communicate your risk and your probabilities to the rest of the organization, and you focus on increasing those parameters. Minus 30% of error by using better technology and having discussions that are based on insights. Thank you very much.